There we go. It's the Bob Report, guys.
Yeah.
So look, Mom, no slides. No slides. So here's the deal. I want to tell you 3 stories. I want to ask 3 questions. Right? So I'm going to tell you a story from back in the day, Little Coach franchise, when he was 10 years old. So back in my day, right, there wasn't video games everywhere. So what you did was you played outside. Okay? I don't know if you guys know that. Kids used to play outside. I used to love playing sandlot football. It was one of my favorite things to do. I got to hang out with my friends. You score touchdowns. You're a star on the street, right? And then something happened to me. I went to school in the 4th grade, and I started seeing these kids that were wearing these jerseys, like official football jerseys. And they would wear them on Fridays because their games was on Saturdays, right? And there was also, and I was like, man, these guys look official. Like, I want to be a part of this club, right? And then I saw these girls that were also in these short skirts, and they would come in too. They were called cheerleaders, and they would also wear their outfits. And I was like, I think I want to do this. I think I want to be a part of whatever these guys do. So I wanted to take my talents to the next level. And in those days, it was called Pop Warner football, right? So I came in to play Pop Warner football. I was excited, man. I'm a sandlot king. Walked into the first day. I'm thinking, I'm ready to play, baby. Let's go. Guess what we did all the first practice? Run. And guess what we did some more? Run. And then we ran some more, right? My mother used to pick me up from that football practice. I didn't go to the door. She would open up the trunk of the Subaru wagon, and I would literally just plop in that, and then she would close it and drive off. I was like, I had never ran this much in my life before. But that wasn't the only rude awakening. But I really wanted to be a part of this club. I could have quit then. I'll be honest with you. I was like, this is not the fun stuff, right? But I wanted to be a part of this. I knew there was another level for me. So then something else happened that was a rude awakening. There's this thing in football called contact, okay, that I had not experienced before, right? And the sandlot, maybe you play in the grass with your friends, you tackle each other, but not like this. They put weapons on you. They put these pads and this really hard helmet and this metal mask, right? And I'll never forget the first time that I was like, oh my God, this is different, right? They used to have this drill where they used to lay the kids on their back, helmet to helmet, about 5 yards apart. Right? And here's the point of the drill. The coach would blow the whistle, and your job was to get up as fast as possible and run the other person over. So you had to get up real quick, and then you had to come with massive force. By the way, concussions weren't a thing back then, Uncle Mike. Then we didn't exist. Those things didn't exist back then. Well, when I got hit the first time, it happened to be, this is another thing you figure out when you play with other kids, right? That some people made different. Some people made different. My sports guys know. Sports girls, right? Some people made different. I happened to be in this drill this day with the son of a Major League Baseball player. The kind of kids that shouldn't have the muscles they have in the 4th grade. And he put a helmet right here. He put his helmet right here. And I don't know if you guys ever felt this thing called getting the wind knocked out of you. I had never felt it before. It was fantastic. I thought I was going to die. Right? You don't think you're going to breathe again. You're like, oh, it's over. I didn't know what was going to happen at football, right? But here's the real wake-up call that happened with me. See, they had this thing in football called weight limits, right? And back in those days, I don't know if you guys come from a Latino family like I do, but food is kind of at the center of the operation, right? So there's nothing better than some arroz con habichuela, some pollo guisado. The thing better than a plate of that is a second plate. Okay, and that's what Latino families like, eat. So I was a chunky 4th grader, okay? And I was 10 pounds overweight. And they told me, hey, you can't play this game unless you lose this weight. It took me 6 games to lose the weight. And it's cool because you know what they do? They make you turn your jersey inside and out, and you're just this kid standing on the sideline waiting to play. You can't play. You're not even part of the team, right? But luckily, I lost the weight. Mom started cooking healthy, started eating less, and I did that. But here's the thing. I really joined football to become a star. And that's what I really wanted to do, right? You used to watch the stuff on TV, and if you know anything about football, there's only 3 stars, really. The people you consider a star are going to be a quarterback, a running back, or a receiver, right? It's going to be one of those 3. But you know where they put the chunky kids? Say that again? Offensive line. And if you don't know what that is, nobody does. That's the whole point. You're literally at the least. My job is actually to move people out of the way to let the stars score touch. I'm like, here, right this way, get your glory. I'll just go ahead and move this gentleman for you. That is my job. But here's the thing. I wanted to be a part of this, so I stuck with it, right? So I played offensive lineman. They only gave me 11 plays a game because I wasn't good. But guess what? I didn't want to stop there. I started losing more weight. By the time I was in middle school, I was lean. I was not an offensive lineman. But here's what happened. I finally went to the coach like 8th grade year, and I was like, dude, look at me. Like, let me play a star position, please. And he goes, here's the problem, Bobby. You're the best offensive lineman we got. And I was like, oh my God, I'm stuck. I'm stuck in this program because that's their program, and I was playing their role. And I knew deep down inside that my desire was, no, I'm not this person. I'm just playing this role right now. But there was this natural transition that was about to happen, and it was called going from 8th grade to high school. And I knew that in high school, they would never put me on the offensive. Look at me. They're not going to put me on the offensive line. The offensive linemen are like 300 pounds, 6-something. I was like, they're never going to think of me like this. But here's the thing. I knew I was never going to play offensive line again. I was happy about that, but I still had to ask for my role. So when my coach came up to me, this country bumpkin guy, one of those guys that has really white skin and spends too much time in the sun, like this red face with the flakes, had a really bad comb over. His name is Coach Wayne Scott. Coach Wayne Scott's like, hey, Bobby, whatever, son, what do you play? And I was like, I'm a running back. And he was like, okay, son. Well, we got too many running backs. How about receiver? I said, perfect. Okay. But here's the deal. When you demand the role that you're supposed to play, the universe starts to work for you. Because when you're in the wrong position, you feel stuck. Right? You know what happened that year? Varsity football team, I was a freshman. Varsity football team was so bad that year. They went 1-9. That they decided to bring up 11 players directly from freshman to varsity. And they walked into the room, and my name got called as a wide receiver to go directly from freshman to varsity. 1 year before, I was an offensive lineman. I was a pulling guard, but that's what happened. So my question to you, I said 3 stories and 3 questions, is when is it time to reinvent yourself? When is it time to shed the old role, the old position? Because a lot of you guys are feeling the shift right now. It's not just a shift in your life. You're feeling it in society right now. People are trying to decide how I want to live the rest of this thing. Hey, if a pandemic can take me out, hey, I don't want to live life like in just going through the motions and just playing the old line and moving out people out of the way for somebody else's glory. So I'm asking you, when is it time to reinvent yourself? Story number 2 is, anybody ever play pickup basketball? Okay, obviously. Devin, come over here real quick. So let me tell you what my pickup basketball experiences usually look like. Now you tell me what's wrong with this picture right here. Okay, you can sit down. All right, so here's the deal. That's who I often end up playing against, right? Matter of fact, I used to have a business partner. I used to own a mortgage company back in 2003. I started in 2003, 2004. My business partner was this big country boy. Right? He was about his height, but he was like 260. He was huge, right? But he liked to play sports, and so did I. So I would play basketball against him, one-on-one, me and him, right? And here's the deal. I knew what I couldn't compete on, right? He's just big, right? But some people make a decision at that point in time. They say, this is not even worth playing. Some people will be like, it's not worth playing. He's too big. He's going to beat me every single time. But I didn't think that. I thought it was a challenge because I know the truth. I know that size isn't the only thing that matters in basketball, right? You got to start looking for the things that are your angle. And my angle, I was like, look, he's big. I'm going to wear his ass out. I'm 260 pounds running around, chasing me around. Hey, guess what? I'm going to wear his ass out. And then the other thing is, I knew his strategy. I knew what the big man's strategy is. What's he going to do? He's going to go down into the paint with his big old body, and he's going to start backing me down so he can do this little thing. So I decided I'm going to make this highly unpleasant for him. I'm going to make this hard on you, man. Because, see, I played football, and I don't care about contact. So you bring that big body in here, I'm going to stick that forearm right in your lower back, and I'm just going to make this hard on you. You might still get the shot, but at some point, this is what would happen. He would start shooting the ball from the outside. And that's how I knew I had him. He started taking shots from the outside. That means that his strength, he abandoned it. Because I made it unpleasant, and he was tired. So I'm asking you guys, what can you compete on? Stop worrying about shit you can't control and start competing on the things you can. if you're a new agent in this group, what can you compete on? What do you have as a new agent that other people don't? Time. You got time. You know, busy agents are busy with their clients. You got time to learn. You got time to research. I think the best agents are researchers. That's why I say you got to be a self-starter. Are you waiting for me to figure out how to download your contacts? Yo, bro, point, click, read. What are you talking about? Right? What if you got a family like Uncle Mike, right? And you got a bunch of stuff going on, right? You got family, you got kids, you got business. What can he compete on? What can he do? He actually mentioned in a consulting council. What can you compete on? Systems, time management. He can rely on his referrals. He doesn't need, hey, I can't make the same calls that Richard might be able to make 3 hours of the calls. I can't. So what can I compete on? So you need to be thinking about that. And then the third story, I'll take you back to the Little Coach franchise from back in the day. I was in 5th grade, right? And it was one of those days, this is old school, right? You know, you have the days when you had a test, right? You came into class and there was a test, right? And the way that the test would go is you take the test and then the teacher would sit in this desk and she would grade them right there. And when she was done with that stack of grading, they'd put you in a line and you kind of just walk up and get you'd be like just standing in line, just waiting to get your grade, right? So I get to the desk. I'll never forget this. Her name was Miss White. And Miss White says, "Great job, Bobby. You got a 98. And I was like, awesome. By the way, I love tests. You should too. How else do you know where you stand? I love tests. I was like, let's go. You want to test? 50-question test. She walked up and she said, "You missed one, 98. And I was like, no, I don't think that I did. I don't think that I missed one. Right? She's like, "Bobby, stop. You got a 98. Right? Just be happy. It's probably the highest score in the class. Just move on." And I almost went to move on. But I went back. I'm like, nah, I need you to check that again. And I'll never forget this because I was like, I got to stand up for what. I'm like, I know I didn't miss a question on that test. I made her check again. Guess what? I got 100 on that test. Okay? So you might be like, oh, well, why'd you walk back up there? You had a great grade, whatever the case. You know why I walked back up there? Because I deserved 100. You know why I deserved 100? Because I put the work in. Okay? So my question to you is, what do you deserve? What do you deserve? And I'm going to tell you right now that if you deserve it, it means you worked for it. But that's not enough sometimes. Sometimes you got to demand your 100 because some people will try to take your 100 away from you. You got to demand your 100. So I'll go to the great philosopher, the rapper Big Sean. Yeah. He has a line in one of his songs, and it starts off with, it's a very powerful line. He says, "I live the life I deserve." He says, "I live the life I deserve." And there's no truer statement than that. And if you answer these 3 questions correctly, you will have the kind of life that he talks about in that song. Because if you guys know the verse, he says, "I live the life I deserve." Blessed.